Saskatchewan to seek work permit extensions for skilled workers. Saskatchewan is taking proactive steps to retain skilled international workers by planning to request work permit extensions from the federal government. This video aims to support immigrants who contribute to the province's labor market while awaiting permanent residency status. If you are interested in this topic, please pay attention and watch the video through to the end to get all the information. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. Saskatchewan's Immigration Minister Jim Ryder is gearing up to request a 2-year work permit extension for immigrants, mirroring a recent Manitoba deal, in response to drastic federal cuts to the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. The federal government's decision to have Saskatchewan's immigration quota to 3,600 has left many temporary workers in limbo, facing expiring permits and uncertain futures. This video dives deep into the proposed extension, its implications for workers and businesses, and what it means for Saskatchewan's economy. From the reasons behind the cuts to practical steps for affected immigrants, we'll cover everything you need to know to stay informed and prepared. Why the federal cuts to SINP are causing alarm. Last year, Canada announced a nationwide reduction in immigration numbers as part of its 2025 to 2027 immigration levels plan, citing pressures on housing, infrastructure, and social services. For Saskatchewan, this meant a 50% cut to its SINP allocation, dropping from previous levels to just 3,625 nominations in 2025, the lowest since 2009. The SINP, which accounts for over 90% of the province's economic immigration, is a critical pathway for employers to hire skilled foreign workers when local talent is unavailable. The federal government also mandated that 75% of nominees must already be temporary residents in Canada, further limiting Saskatchewan's ability to attract overseas talent. These changes have sparked concern among businesses and workers, with fears of labor shortages and economic stagnation. For temporary workers, the reduced nomination slots mean a higher risk of permit expirations without a clear path to permanent residency, potentially forcing them to leave the province. Saskatchewan's response, a Manitoba-inspired solution. In response to these challenges, Minister Jim Ryder is taking proactive steps. Inspired by Manitoba's recent success, he plans to negotiate with the newly appointed federal immigration minister, Lena Metlidge-Diab, for a 2-year work permit extension for SINP candidates. Manitoba secured a similar deal, allowing 6,700 temporary workers with expiring permits to extend their stay until December 31, 2025. This policy targets prospective provincial nominee program candidates whose work permits expired in 2024 or will expire in 2025, ensuring they can continue contributing to the economy while awaiting permanent residency. Ryder's proposal aims to replicate this model, offering relief to Saskatchewan's temporary workers and employers. "We've had business people in Saskatchewan approach the ministry saying that would be helpful here as well," Ryder said, highlighting the urgency of the situation. The extension would be facilitated by the federal government, as provinces lack the authority to issue such permits independently. The Manitoba deal, a blueprint for Saskatchewan. Manitoba's work permit extension, announced by Labour and Immigration Minister Malaya Marcelino, was a game-changer for the province's workforce. The policy, backed by former federal immigration minister Mark Miller, targets skilled workers in Manitoba's PNP expression of interest pool. It addresses labor market needs by allowing temporary residents to remain in the province, supporting businesses, and fostering community stability. The initiative was praised for its collaborative approach, with Miller noting its role in transitioning temporary residents to permanent status. Saskatchewan hopes to secure a similar agreement, leveraging the precedent set by Manitoba. Ryder expressed optimism, stating, "They are apparently extending those in Manitoba, so we're optimistic that they may do that here as well." The proposed extension would provide a critical buffer for workers facing permit expirations, giving them time to pursue SINP nominations or other pathways to permanent residency. Who stands to benefit from the extension? The proposed 2-year work permit extension would primarily benefit temporary workers, individuals on work permits expiring in 2025, particularly those in the SINP's expression of interest pool or prospective nominees. These workers, often employed in critical sectors like healthcare, agriculture, and trades, face uncertainty due to reduced nomination slots. Saskatchewan employers, businesses rely on foreign workers to fill labor gaps, especially in industries like food services, retail, and trucking, which face nomination caps under the revised SINP rules. Local communities, retaining skilled workers supports economic growth and cultural diversity, strengthening Saskatchewan's social fabric. The extension would not apply to workers who have already received a letter of advice to apply for the SINP, as they are eligible for bridging open work permits once they submit the complete application. The economic stakes, why this matters for Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's economy heavily depends on immigration to address labor shortages and drive growth. The SINP has been instrumental in filling roles that local workers cannot, with over 90% of economic immigrants arriving through the program. However, the federal cuts have created a ripple effect, disrupting businesses and workers alike. Norbert Key, the Saskatchewan NDP's immigration critic, emphasized the broader impact. People are really very stressed, and businesses are really relying on those foreign workers. They can't plan, they aren't thinking that we will grow and will be expanding their businesses. Without a solution, Saskatchewan risks losing talent to other provinces or countries, exacerbating labor shortages in key sectors. For example, industries like restaurants and trucking, which rely heavily on foreign workers, are already grappling with SINP nomination caps set at 25% of total allocations. The closure of streams like the entrepreneur and farm owner/operator categories further limits options for economic immigration, making the proposed extension a critical stopgap. Navigating the SINP changes. What will be different in 2025? The federal cuts prompted Saskatchewan to overhaul the SINP, introducing changes effective March 27, 2025. These include sector prioritization. Overseas candidates in healthcare, agriculture, and skilled trades are prioritized, aligning with federal express entry focuses. Other sectors, like food services and trucking, face a 25% nomination cap. Ineligible sectors, spas, salons, and pet care services, excluding veterinarians, are no longer eligible for SINP recruitment. Closed streams. The entrepreneur, international graduate entrepreneur, and farm owner/operator categories are permanently closed, narrowing pathways for business-focused immigrants. Stricter eligibility. Applications under Saskatchewan Express Entry and Occupations in Demand subcategories without a Saskatchewan-based job offer are returned. Open work permit holders, including spousal permit holders, face new restrictions. These changes reflect Saskatchewan's effort to maximize its limited nominations while meeting federal requirements. However, they've left many workers and employers scrambling, underscoring the need for the proposed extension. How the extension process would work. If approved, the work permit extension would be administered by Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada under a temporary public policy, similar to Manitoba's. Key steps include eligibility check. Workers must be prospective SINP nominees with valid work permits on May 7, 2024, that have expired or will expire in 2025. They must also be employed in Saskatchewan and meet federal conditions, such as applying for restoration if needed. Application process. Candidates apply through IRCC, potentially requiring a support letter from Saskatchewan, though the province may limit the number issued. Federal approval. IRCC reviews applications, with processing times varying based on volume and documentation. Outcome. Approved workers receive a 2-year open work permit, allowing them to continue working in Saskatchewan while pursuing permanent residency. The process is not guaranteed, and applicants must ensure proper documentation to avoid refusal. Challenges and concerns. What could go wrong? While the proposed extension offers hope, several challenges remain. Federal approval uncertainty. The federal government's willingness to grant Saskatchewan's request is not guaranteed, despite Manitoba's precedent. Political and budgetary factors could influence the outcome. Limited scope. The extension applies only to specific workers, leaving others, like those in capped sectors or with LAAs, without relief. Employer strain. Businesses in non-priority sectors may struggle to retain workers, especially with nomination caps and closed streams. Worker stress. The uncertainty surrounding permit expirations and SINP nominations has left many workers anxious, as Berkey noted. How workers and employers can prepare. To navigate this evolving landscape, here are actionable steps. For workers. Check your work permit status and eligibility for the potential extension. Ensure you were employed in Saskatchewan with a valid permit on May 7, 2024. Contact the SINP at immigration@gov.sk.ca or 1-833-613-0485 for guidance on your application status. Explore alternative pathways, like the International Skilled Worker or Saskatchewan Work Experience categories, if you meet the criteria. Consider consulting a licensed immigration professional to assess your options. For employers. Focus recruitment on temporary residents already in Canada, as they are prioritized under the 75% federal mandate. Explore training programs to upskill local workers, reducing reliance on international hires. Stay updated via the SINP website for changes to nomination allocations or sector caps. The bigger picture, immigration and Saskatchewan's future. The push for a work permit extension reflects a broader struggle to balance federal immigration goals with provincial economic needs. Saskatchewan's reliance on the SINP underscores the importance of immigration to its growth, with 12.5% of its population now immigrants, according to the 2021 census. The federal cuts, part of a sustainable growth strategy, have sparked debate about their long-term impact. While intended to ease pressures on housing and services, they risk undermining provinces like Saskatchewan, where labor shortages are acute. The proposed extension is a temporary fix, but long-term solutions, such as increased nomination allocations or streamlined pathways, are needed to ensure stability. The issue has resonated widely, with stakeholders voicing support and concern. Business owners, many have urged the province to act swiftly, citing the risk of losing skilled workers critical to their operations. Workers, temporary residents are stressed, with some, like Saskatoon's Rosemary Anthony, preparing to leave Canada due to earlier SINP pauses. Opposition, NDP critic Norbert Key has called for urgent action, emphasizing the human and economic toll of inaction. Posts on X reflect similar sentiments, with users congratulating Saskatchewan for pursuing the extension and highlighting its importance for workers and employers. Comparing Saskatchewan and Manitoba's approaches. This video highlights Saskatchewan's proactive stance, though its success hinges on federal cooperation. Saskatchewan's situation is part of a broader Canadian trend toward tighter immigration controls. Other provinces, like Alberta and British Columbia, are also adapting to reduced PNP allocations. Manitoba's extension deal sets a precedent, but not all provinces may secure similar agreements due to varying economic needs and federal priorities. Globally, countries like Australia and the UK are also refining immigration policies to balance economic growth with public services, suggesting a shift toward more selective, skills-based systems. Saskatchewan's focus on healthcare, agriculture, and trades aligns with these trends, positioning it to attract high-demand workers if the extension is approved. Debunking myths about the extension. Myth: the extension will apply to all temporary workers in Saskatchewan. Fact: only prospective SINP nominees with specific permit conditions qualify. Myth: Saskatchewan can issue the extensions independently. Fact: the federal government controls work permit extensions. Myth: the extension guarantees permanent residency. Fact: it provides time to pursue nomination but does not ensure PR approval. Saskatchewan's bid for a 2-year work permit extension is a pivotal step to support its temporary workers and economy amid federal SINP cuts. By following Manitoba's lead, Minister Jim Ryder aims to provide stability for thousands of immigrants and the businesses that depend on them. While challenges remain, including federal approval and sector-specific limitations, the proposal offers hope for a province grappling with labor shortages and immigration uncertainty. Who qualifies for the proposed 2-year work permit extension in Saskatchewan? The extension targets prospective Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program candidates with valid work permits on May 7, 2024, that have expired or will expire in 2025. They must be employed in Saskatchewan and meet federal eligibility criteria, though those with a letter of advice to apply are excluded. What steps should temporary workers take to prepare for the potential extension? Workers should verify their permit status and ensure they meet eligibility criteria, such as being employed in Saskatchewan with a valid permit on May 7, 2024. They can contact the SINP at immigration@gov.sk.ca or 1-833-613-0485 for guidance and explore alternative pathways like the International Skilled Worker category. Why did the federal government cut SINP nominations, and how has this impacted Saskatchewan? The federal government reduced SINP nominations by 50% to 3,625 in 2025 as part of a broader plan to ease pressures on housing and infrastructure. This has caused uncertainty for workers and businesses, capped nominations in sectors like trucking, and closed streams like the entrepreneur category, risking labor shortages. Saskatchewan continues to position itself as a welcoming destination for global talent. The province's effort to secure work permit extensions reinforces its commitment to supporting skilled workers and sustaining economic growth.